Hey guys, I'm back. Got cut off there. Apparently, up on my space, which is crazy because I got like the most gigabyte iPhone you can get, 3D. Anyway, I might upload this as a part two to the previous video since it got cut off. But yeah, you guys got to stop letting the outside tell you how to feel internally. Like I said before, we've been conditioned, depending on where you grew up in the world, to believe based on what we see or observe with our five senses. When the reality is, we're supposed to go into ourselves internally and project what we want to experience externally. Right? And that sounds crazy to most people, and unfortunately, because of that, most people who may have ambitions and dreams don't realize them because they don't understand that it's us that determines the result of things. It's us. So when you constantly allow the outside to tell you how to feel, when bad crap happens, right? What do a lot of people do? Oh, damn, that sucks. Oh, I can't believe I went through this. So they observe what happened on the outside, okay? They agree with what happened in the outside and bring it into internally in their thoughts, as Eric would say, in their heaven. So because you agreed with that and you've identified with that negative circumstance, you've made yourself liable to have recycled experiences of that same thing, right? Because now you've allowed that bad circumstance to define you. And how many people have you heard of and known make bad shit a part of their identity by letting bad shit define them? Pardon my language, but just want to drive the emphasis. I know you guys know some people that identify with negative crap that happened in their lives, and now it's been a part of their identity for months and years. We all know someone like that. I used to be someone who was once in a place of comfort in being a victim, in never having. I used to be, it got to the point where before I became the type of person I am now, I used to make jokes about my singleness and my inability to attract the opposite gender, the opposite sex. Like I used to pretend like I was a book in the Bible, like the Book of Dion, and then like I'd make out like a random number of scriptures in my head and just make like a wise saying about how good of a person I was and still couldn't attract people. Like I used to just poke fun at myself, like, for my shortcomings. But yeah, to kind of bring it back home, the biggest thing is not allowing the outside to tell you how to feel. You maintain what you claimed, right? I know your bank account says negative something, but if you decided that you're going to be someone who earns 6 figures or 7 figures, into that mind state now, into that awareness now that you are someone who earns 6 figures or 7 figures, okay? And then regardless of what the outside is saying to you, regardless of what your bank account is saying, maintain that. If you maintain that, okay, and you choose to keep denying, okay, and maintain that awareness and confidence that you are that, you will start to consciously and subconsciously take action that facilitates you eventually becoming that. Because whatever you show that part of your brain, it has to capitulate eventually. It has to capitulate. It has to. If you're constantly telling that part of your brain that you earn a lot of money, you always have a lot of money in your bank account, it has to reflect what you're constantly saying to it, what you're constantly showing it. And then if you stay the course, it's going to reflect externally. You're gonna find yourself in situations where you might have a friend or a family member give you money all of a sudden, or that random person that owed you money from like 5-10 years ago reach out to you on Facebook or something out of nowhere. Say, hey man, I owed you like $500 from like 5 years ago. Here. You'll start to have random situations where you're starting to be validated now, because that's your identity. You've identified someone who has a lot of money. So now you're going to be getting that from people owing you. You're going to get a random check where you might have overpaid on your taxes one year and the IRS screwed up and now they're making right with you. All these little small nuances are going to start to happen, and then you'll realize, oh, I've been identifying as someone who always has money, and then the world around you is now molding itself around you now. Because another thing, and this was hard for me to accept at first too, because there's so many people in the world. We have 8 billion people, right? That means there's 8 billion worlds. And now for my Bible believers and my Christians, right, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, so a man thinketh, so he is, right? So whatever he or she assesses about themselves, they are, as far as their perception of their world around them, regardless of what outside evidences or circumstances say or reiterate. If that person's convicted that they are a certain way, then that there's no change in that, because that only they can change that. Let's say there was a huge amount of people. Let's say 1 billion people decided to say, or they decided to no longer acknowledge the sky being blue. Let's say 1 billion people said, no, actually during the day the sky is pink. Right? The other 7 billion are going to say, well, no, it's blue during the day, generally. As far as those 1 billion people are concerned, it's pink, regardless of how much we might, advise them to look at the sky and reevaluate what the color of the sky is. If those 1 billion people have decided within themselves that the sky is pink, then no presentation of external evidences is going to convince them, because they've decided that internally. That's similarly what we need to be when it comes to our everyday personal lives, right? If you want to attract a certain someone, or if you are with someone and they may not be showing up the way that you want them to, go within, start to speak, start to visualize them behaving the way that you want them to be, and hold it. Start to behave towards them as if they're behaving the way that you want them to behave, and eventually they will reflect that. Because there's different versions of people, and being that we're all human and we're connected to each other, we reflect one another. We're like a mirror. Another example is, that's why you have things like first impression, right? Oftentimes, how many times have you heard or known friends or family who've been in a career and they made an unfortunate mistake or first bad impression, and regardless of everything else they've done correctly, they weren't able to overcome that first impression, right? Because that perception was set in the individuals that observed that bad first impression. Similar concept here. To bring it all home, remain steadfast in what you say you are. Maintain that identity, because the 3D or your old ego is going to try to throw you off. It's really trying to protect you, but in your case, in your pursuit of whatever journey you're on, it is going to get in your way because it thinks it's protecting you. You have to tell it, hey, old ego, no, this is all right. I want this. I choose this. Get out of my way. Hope that helps. Be encouraged. God bless.